Perhaps you remember something from the first segment of this lesson, first part of this lesson. Just for the moment, bring your one foot to standing. That's it. And just simply roll yourself to the opposite direction, away from your foot. And observe for yourself whether you've retained the ability, the means within yourself to roll away from the outer edge of your foot, to more or less keep your heel stable, to lift yourself in such a way that you don't increase the pressure of your foot relative to the floor, that you're lifting away and up and through yourself. Generally, in the world of Feldenkrais, you'll find that the teacher in this lesson or in other modalities, maybe Pilates or physical therapy or whatever, will invite the person to press the floor. And oftentimes you'll see that with these kind of movements, a sense of the knee moving away. But it's not the way that we're designed. We have millions of years of evolution, and our system is designed to be able to lift ourselves from the floor. So you're engaging that property of lifting. Change your leg for a moment so that you can explore for a moment with your other leg, one leg long. That's it. And simply lift yourself away from, roll yourself. There's a particular stability, and if you pay attention, you might find that there's a particular sensation that you can find under the outer edge of your foot, along the line of where the fourth metatarsal head is. Just for the moment, if you will, just collapse your arch just a little inwardly, and so that you roll off of the fourth metatarsal, and listen to the difference in the weight. And just go back and forth once or twice so that you keep this relationship between your heel and this sensation of the fourth metatarsal head, and then just this subtle way of rolling in. So you notice the difference in the weight of lifting, the experience of lifting, the stability that you gain in lifting. Whenever you're ready, organize yourself so your feet are supported by the floor. So that it's almost like you're drawing the floor into you, as opposed to pushing onto the floor or being over the floor. And once again, the earliest moment, you just begin to detect as you begin to lift your pelvis. First of all, just notice which foot do you engage with the floor first? And how do you engage? Do you engage by pressing? Does the movement move from your heel towards your forefoot or from your forefoot towards your heel? And which foot's first? Which foot becomes active with the floor first? And you notice that even as soon as I ask the question, you start to make these subtle, just a second ago, you moved your feet. You started to reconnect and to, in a sense, find different surfaces to stand on, because your system is looking for how to make yourself more stable, how to make this easier and more efficient. So make the movement, really make it a study, and just one time, make it so that it's clear that it's one foot, and the next time, make it clear so that you initiate the movement just slightly with the other foot. And you can watch, of course, this movement as it travels up and through you. And as you settle, as you lift yourself back to the floor, which side of your pelvis do you tend to land with? Which side of your pelvis interacts with the floor first? And gradually make it so that within yourself you have a sense that you're lifting more and more clearly, and so that you land. So the trajectory of the movement passes through your sacrum. And of course, as you lift, there's a relationship between your ribs, the movement through your spine, the support through your shoulders. And you continue with this process to find, is it possible for you to lift in such a way that you don't increase the pressure with your feet? Obviously, there's a change in the pressure with your feet, but it's mostly a sense of lifting yourself away from your feet rather than pressing down onto the floor or through the floor. Now, watch this movement in your hip joint. So you've studied for a moment with your foot, but there's something deeply, deeply engaged, deep in your hip joint, that you might sense that one side activates just a little before the other. Which means, of course, that you're beginning to find for yourself the relationship as to how your femur, your upper leg bone, engages with your pelvis. And so once again, explore which one, and then the next time you make the movement, engage the other side just a little bit so that you can sense. And gradually within this experience, you look for a different internal symmetry, a different coordination, so that you neurologically can find and coordinate something that's generally hidden from your habit of simply lifting, no matter what class you're in. No matter what you've done in the world of creating core stability exercises or any kind of exercise, there's always some asymmetry that's hidden, and we continue to exercise the asymmetry. Beautiful. Leave that for a moment and pause. The question is whether there's a changing cascade of neurological information that leads to a different coordination, or do we always exercise our habit? And if we exercise our habit, the outcome is always the same. Now, once again, please begin to lift both. And as you lift and as you come to the point that you're lifted to a point that's comfortable for yourself, which foot could you lift? How do you go about seeking the stability, the engagement with the floor so that you could lift one foot? So where did you find the stability?
In my arms.
In your arms and in your shoulders, and the way that you, yes, and the way that you actually engaged your other foot. So just for the moment, make it so that you can lift one foot, and then for a moment, discover, so that you don't fall back, can you lift your foot back to the ground in such a way that it hovers above the ground, and so that you could be, that's a fall. That's a fall. That's it. So that you can make it so that you could touch, and the moment that your foot touches, you're ready to lift again. Now, once again, please lift your pelvis. Come away from yourself. Find the movement through your spine that makes it so that you can lift a little higher through yourself. And please, for the moment, lift the same leg you were lifting. And then, as you lower your foot to the floor, will you lift your pelvis? Lift your pelvis higher. As you lift your foot, can you lower your pelvis? So you're making a teeter-totter kind of movement. And you're having to find something very, very specific about the way that you're supporting yourself with your opposite foot. The specificity of this requires you to find some stability within your foot. You couldn't make this movement easily by falling into the inner part of your foot or being rolled too far to the outside. So the way in which you're finding the stability with your foot is crucial to your ability to make this movement. Raise your pelvis, lower your foot, lift your foot, lower your pelvis, and now find, if you can't, just lift your foot and lower your foot in such a way that you just simply touch the floor in such a way that you could touch your foot to the floor and then lift again, so that it's somehow related to more of yourself than your hip joint. So please, once again, fold your knees, bring your feet to being supported by the floor, lift yourself, lift your pelvis, raise away from the floor, lift away from your feet. It's almost like you're drawing your heels to you, and find out what it takes for you to stabilize yourself in such a way that you can lift your other foot. You see the small things that you have to do with the foot that you're going to stabilize yourself with. And find out now, because it's a lot of work with your arms and shoulders. Is there a subtle way in which, as you lift your foot, that you could also be engaging your shoulders? How could you be engaging your shoulders to roll under into the ground to help you lift your foot, and to engage your shoulders as you lower your foot so that your shoulders become a part of the image. That's it. And as soon as your foot touches the ground, it's resting in such a way that your resting state is an active state. It's actively available. One time touch in such a way that your heel lands first. One time in such a way that your toes land first. One time in such a way that your heels and toes land absolutely simultaneously. Now, cross. Which foot would you cross over your lower thigh and across your knee? That's it. Once again, please begin to lift. You see that there's a tendency to want to move your foot to the middle. Yes? But now, begin to lift your pelvis here. And watch, there's a tendency. Did you notice that the right side of your pelvis wanted to fall to the floor? Yes? Mm-hmm. So it makes sense. It's a huge amount of weight with your knee and everything. Now, we talked about for a moment you finding the sensation of your leg. And in this case, you're going to have the sense that you're going to spiral your leg into your hip joint. It means to find your lesser trochanter, the inner part of your thigh, in such a way that you can lift your pelvis parallel to the floor. Beautiful. So it's a different connection of the way that you turn your leg into your pelvis to find that you can support yourself evenly from one side to the other. Beautiful. And then please change so that your left leg now crosses your right. Again, you have to find some way with your foot to create the clearest sense of stability. And to find the way that you're going to turn your upper thigh, the head of your femur, into your pelvis, into the acetabulum, into your hip joint, in such a way that you invite the opposite side to lift, so that it doesn't just fall. And of course, that means that your shoulders, the way your back, and leave this for a moment. Stand with both legs and now sense how it is that you lift your pelvis. And you can sense that as you're lifting your pelvis, that the inner part of your thigh can turn. It's almost like you turn the inner part of your thigh upwards and inwards, and so that you gain a different sense of the centrality of where your hip joints are and where you can find the force of lifting through your pelvis. Was there something that was new and different for you in that?
I think just moving really slowly through those single leg bridges was more challenging than moving quickly.
Yes. We tend to cover up the areas that we're inadequate in, that we don't do well. So we hurry through points. Yeah. So the coordination cascade isn't smooth moment by moment.
And yeah, it also then moving slower created space for me to integrate more of my upper body to support it. And as we kept going through the exercises, my hips just felt more integrated, more capable of doing the bridge. Bridge got easier and easier.
Right. By the way, what's squatting like now?
Just like I'm going to pick something up?
Yeah.
Yeah, feels great.
Oh, look at that. Bop. Bop. It's such a different coordination, actually. It would take a slow motion video almost to watch, or for someone, but inside yourself, I think you probably sense something.
Yeah, it feels much smoother than the first time I did it, for sure.
Perfect. Let's take a break.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for attending and being here. Hope you enjoyed, and feel free to contact us or hit here to subscribe. All right. Take care. Thank you.